Welcome back to Elite Insight Audiobooks. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If this is your first time joining us, welcome to the family. And if you're returning, thank you for being part of this journey. Today we're diving into law number 4 from the 48 Laws of Power. Always say less than necessary. This is one of the most powerful laws in the book, and I promise you, by the end of this episode, you'll see exactly why silence can be your greatest weapon. Let me start with a story that will make everything clear. Imagine there's a young man named David. He just got promoted at his company, and he's excited. During his first meeting with the senior managers, he wants to impress everyone. So what does he do? He talks. A lot. He shares every idea he has, explains his plans in detail, tells them about his strategies, his methods, everything. He thinks he's showing confidence and intelligence. But here's what actually happens. The senior managers start to see through him. They realize he's inexperienced. They pick apart his ideas. They find holes in his plans. And worst of all, they lose respect for him. Why? Because he said too much. He revealed all his cards at once. Now let me tell you about another person, Sarah. She also got promoted around the same time as David. But when she enters her first meeting, she does something different. She listens. She observes. And when she speaks, she says only what's necessary. Short, powerful sentences. She doesn't explain everything. She doesn't reveal her entire plan. She leaves people curious. She leaves them wanting to know more. What happens to Sarah? People respect her. They see her as mysterious, intelligent, and in control. They lean in when she speaks because her words carry weight. This is the essence of law number 4. Always say less than necessary. Let me explain why this law is so powerful. When you talk too much, you make yourself common. Think about it. The people who talk all the time, who share every thought in their head, they become predictable. You know exactly what they're thinking. There's no mystery. And when there's no mystery, there's no power. But when you say less, people have to fill in the blanks themselves. They start to wonder what you're thinking. They become curious about you. And curiosity creates respect. Here's another reason this law works. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. We've all been there, right? You're in a conversation, you're talking, and suddenly you say something you shouldn't have. Maybe you reveal a secret. Maybe you make a promise you can't keep. Maybe you just sound stupid. The more words that come out of your mouth, the higher the chance you'll regret some of them. Powerful people throughout history understood this. Kings had advisors who talked, but the king, he listened and spoke only when necessary. His words were final. His silence was commanding. Let me give you a real example from history. There was a famous meeting between two leaders. One of them talked for hours, explaining his position, his demands, his reasoning. He thought he was being persuasive. The other leader barely said anything. He listened. He nodded. And when he finally spoke, he said just one sentence. I'll think about it. Guess who won that negotiation? The silent one. Why? Because he gave away nothing. He revealed no weakness. He made no promises. He stayed in control. Now I know what some of you might be thinking, but I need to communicate. I need to explain myself. How can I get things done if I don't talk? Great question. This law doesn't mean you should never speak. It means you should be intentional with your words. Every sentence should have a purpose. Every word should add value. Think of your words like money. If you spend money on everything, you become poor. But if you spend carefully only on what matters, your money has power. The same goes for words. Here's a practical example from everyday life. Let's say you're in a job interview. The interviewer asks you why you left your last job. Now, you could go into a long explanation about the company culture, your boss, the projects, the politics, all the details. But what's the better approach? You say something simple. I was looking for new challenges and growth opportunities. Short, clean, powerful. You answered the question without revealing too much. You didn't badmouth your previous employer. You didn't give them reasons to doubt you. You said just enough. Or imagine you're in an argument with someone. They're yelling, accusing you, throwing words at you like weapons. Your instinct might be to defend yourself, to explain, to argue back with even more words. But what if you stayed calm? What if you let them finish? And then you simply said, I understand you're upset. Let's talk when we're both calm. Who has the power in that situation? You do, because you didn't get dragged into the chaos. You didn't say things you'd regret. You controlled yourself, and by doing that, you controlled the situation. The law also applies to social media, by the way. Think about people who post every single thought, every emotion, every detail of their life. What happens? People get bored. They stop caring. But the person who posts rarely, who keeps a mystery, who doesn't share everything, people pay attention when they finally do post. Now let me share the dangers of talking too much. First, you make yourself predictable. When people know everything about you, they can manipulate you. They know your weaknesses. They know what you want. They can use that against you. Second, you lose respect. People who talk constantly are often seen as insecure, as if they need constant validation. Silence, on the other hand, shows confidence. Third, you reveal too much. Information is power. When you give away information freely, you give away your power. So how do you practice this law? Start by becoming aware of when you're talking just to fill silence. Silence is not your enemy. It's okay to pause. It's okay to think before you speak. It's okay to let others wonder what you're thinking. Next, before you speak, ask yourself, is this necessary? Will this add value? Or am I just talking to hear myself talk? And finally, learn to listen more than you speak. When you listen, you learn. You gather information. You understand people. And understanding is power. Let me give you one more story before we wrap up. There was a wise old businessman who was known for building an empire from nothing. Young entrepreneurs would come to him asking for advice. And you know what he did? He would sit there, listen to their entire story, their plans, their dreams, everything. And when they finished, he would say just a few words, sometimes just one sentence. But those few words would change everything for them. People said his advice was worth millions. But it wasn't just the advice, it was the fact that he said so little. His words were rare, so they were precious. You can be the same way. In your relationships, at your job, with your friends, with your family. You don't need to explain everything. You don't need to fill every silence. You don't need to prove yourself with words. Let your actions speak. And when you do speak, make it count. Remember, when you always say less than necessary, people lean in to hear you. They respect your words. They can't predict you. They can't manipulate you. You remain mysterious, powerful, and in control. So this week, I challenge you, practice this law. Before you speak, pause, think, and ask yourself, is this necessary? You'll be amazed at how much more powerful your words become when you use fewer of them. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Elite Insight Audiobooks. If you enjoyed this, please give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments which law you want me to cover next. Until next time, stay powerful, stay wise, and remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. This is Elite Insight Audiobooks, and I'll see you in the next episode.